Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corman Productions. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. As you guys know, This Is Us is on a hiatus until January 5th. Until that time, I will be doing some rewatch episodes of the series Origins, starting with the third episode of Season 1 titled Kyle. I already did episode 1 and 2 of this series, so this is where I'm starting off. As a reminder, this is not a spoiler-free video, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, I don't recommend watching this video just yet. Where we left off in the previous episode, Randall's kids announced that Grandma Becca had arrived. William, Randall's biological father, made a hasty and very suspicious retreat to his bedroom. When we see Rebecca, she's with Miguel, Jack's best friend. At this point in the series, we had no idea where either of these two characters were, and now those questions have been put into overdrive. This episode provides no clarification whatsoever as to the fate and current status of Jack. Is he dead? Are Rebecca and him just divorced? Witness protection? At this point in the series, we have no idea. It's basically just this hanging chat of a thread. But what this episode does do is provide quite a bit of insight into William that we haven't had up to this point. The episode opens with a montage showing a young William seeing a woman on a bus, giving her a little smile. He's writing in a notebook, gradually falling in love, developing a relationship, and then she's nowhere to be seen. He's riding the bus, looking wrecked. A combination of grief and drugs is leading him to make a decision he will regret for the rest of his life. Dropping his son off to a fire station, leaving him to an uncertain fate. We see this play out in 30 seconds. No dialogue, just the visuals to tell the story. This opening reminds me of the opening of the Pixar film Up, where we see an entire love story from beginning to end with no dialogue whatsoever. We know completely what's going on, and it's simply heartbreaking. The parents are crying, and it's completely flying over the kids' heads. This isn't quite as good as that, but it is still very effective. Cut to Jack and Rebecca at the hospital, ready to take their newborn babies home. We see Dr. K, played by Gerald McCraney, making his second of 9 appearances so far in the series. He tells them that the scariest part of becoming new parents is not going to the hospital, but leaving it for the first time. Jack tells him the name of the children: Kate, Kevin, and Kyle. All K's in honor of their doctor. And while that's really touching, the 3 letters combined make KKK. So I'm not sure they were fully thinking that one through. Randall is not yet Randall. He is currently Kyle. Jack reveals that Kate and Kevin cannot sleep apart, hinting at the codependent future that these two have in store for each other. It's hinted at that Rebecca is having trouble bonding with Randall, which is a running thread throughout the episode. We cut to the present day, where Rebecca and Miguel have just arrived at Randall's house, the scene from the previous episode. William is still in hiding. It's revealed that Rebecca and her husband are going to see Hamilton. Miguel makes a joke that he's probably going to be the only one who doesn't like the play. Oh dear. Miguel, we need to talk. Do you not realize that right now, people kind of hate you because they think you stabbed your best friend in the back and stole Rebecca from him? Or at least that the possibility is there. Now, you and I know that to not be the truth. But nevertheless, that's how you're being perceived right now. And as the series goes on, it becomes more and more ridiculous to hate you. But people still do, even to this day. Even though there's been ample information that it's just silly to hate you. But in the midst of this, you're making a joke about Hamilton? About not liking Hamilton? Are you out of your mind? If you were running for office right now, you just declared yourself a loser right then and there. Your poll numbers would crater. You're not, but you didn't exactly help your popularity with the fans. Not that you're at all concerned about the unseen, unknown fandom of your show. This is where I'll admit that I myself have not seen Hamilton, nor do I know much about it. That admission might cost me some fans, which, unlike Miguel, does concern me, because at this point there's like maybe 3 of you. Anyway, Randall is nervous because he knows he needs to tell Rebecca about his biological father, and he believes this is going to be devastating news to her. Cut to Toby waking up, suffering from a hangover. No doubt because of the party that both him, Kevin, and Kate attended in the last episode. He hears Kate singing in the bathroom and goes to investigate, getting punched in the face for his troubles as he startles Kate. No doubt there were some people watching who enjoyed that, because at this point in the series, Toby was pretty obnoxious. In the aftermath of that, Kate makes a healthy breakfast that Toby is not enjoying very much, but makes a half-hearted attempt to pretend that he is. They talk about Kate singing, which Toby describes as too good for the bathroom. Kate says she used to want to be a singer, but then she grew up. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but we don't know that yet. Kevin enters the scene, talking about the big move to New York. Kate seems surprised that he was serious about that. Kevin moving means Kate is moving as well, because she sort of operates as his personal assistant. He's been blathering on and ignoring Toby's existence, and this doesn't help me like Kevin's character that much at this point in the series. As some may recall, I was not his biggest fan when this series began. Not because I didn't like the actor, but because I wasn't overly fond of the character. Toby says something, and Kevin finally acknowledges him. Kevin tries some pancakes and asks Toby if she's making him eat it. Toby admits he is just trying to have some carnal relations. Kevin seems to understand. We cut back to Randall telling his mom about William. She's doing her best to hide her emotions. Randall admits to not knowing much about him at this point, and Rebecca says she would like to meet him, and starts to make her way towards William's room. Randall tries to hold her back, saying nervously that he isn't so sure he's ready for company. This doesn't deter Rebecca any. We flash back to the past, with Jack and Rebecca outside, leaving the hospital with the babies for the first time. Jack goes to get the car, and Rebecca spots a young William looking on. She doesn't know it for a fact, but she strongly suspects who he is. She calls for him. William turns briefly around, but then regretfully and slowly walks away. Back to the present day, Rebecca opens William's door and pretends to be meeting him for the first time. William looks scared and pretends not to know her, but doesn't do as good of an acting job as Rebecca. Doesn't matter anyway, as Randall is pretty oblivious. Rebecca asks for a few minutes alone with William. Randall obliges. He shuts the door. Rebecca turns back to William and looks extremely mad. William has the bearing of a man who is about to get yelled at. credits. Now, I pointed out in the first 2 episodes of the series that the cold opens were unusually long, or at least they seemed to be. This one was about 10 minutes before we got to the credits, as opposed to 12 minutes in the last episode. When we come back from the credits, we have a montage of Jack and Rebecca adjusting to new parenthood. They are clearly having a tough time of it. They are exhausted, nerves frayed, they're frustrated. I can tell you from experience that this represents the truth of parenthood, and I was only dealing with one newborn. Rebecca continues to express frustrations that she's not bonding with Randall. She's saying that she thinks Randall hates her. Meanwhile, Jack is just trying to make this work, trying to convince her that it'll be okay. Meanwhile, we cut back to older Rebecca and William. The reason Rebecca is so pissed, though we've pretty much already gathered this at this point, is that this is not the first time that they met. They apparently made some kind of deal where William should not be involved in Randall's life going forward, even though Rebecca knows who he is. We don't exactly know the details, and we won't learn about that till a later scene. Rebecca's immediate concern is the truth coming out about this deal. That if it does so, Randall will be devastated, knowing that he could have had a relationship with William all this time. William assures her that the deal is right, and that the details of that deal will not come to light. She tells him fine, but because he is sick, Randall will do anything to save him. It'll come before his marriage, his kids, before everything, and he better be worth that. And she takes off, leaving a very upset William. Both Mandy Moore and Ron Cephas-Jones nail this scene, which, given the actors involved, is of no surprise. Rebecca's words clearly have an impact on him, as we see at William, he's trying to leave. Randall finds him on the walk on the road, trying to get out, and gets angry with him for just slipping off without saying a word. Not a goodbye to the kids or anything. But Randall isn't going to let him go so easily. He made an appointment with doctors to check out his cancer that he had to pull some strings to get. And this is another fantastic scene in an episode full of them. Meanwhile, Toby is trying to become Jack, or at the very least perform a Jack-like action, even though he has yet to really understand what that even means. He plans a very grand romantic gesture, pulling up in a limo, dressed to the nines, making Kate the star for the day. In the past timeline, we cut to Jack and Dr. K for the baby's checkup. Dr. K says that the babies are doing fine, but asks a clearly overwhelmed, exhausted, and on the edge Jack how the two of them are doing. Rebecca and Jack, of course. Jack unconvincingly says that they are doing fine. Dr. K isn't buying it. For one, he says it's unusual for a checkup that doesn't include both parents, or at the very least the mom being there. He clearly sensed a problem right from the beginning. Jack starts rambling off his concerns in an almost manic way, chief of them being that Rebecca isn't bonding with Kyle, and after a bit, Dr. K simply tells Jack to sit down. Dr. K tells him that she is still grieving over the loss of their third baby. Jack says that he is as well. Simply replacing the lost baby with Randall didn't make that grief go away. Dr. K tells him that he handled his grief by taking action and positivity, that Rebecca needs to handle it in her own way, and that Jack needs to give her the space to do so. She'll eventually come out of it. Jack asks, what if she doesn't? Dr. K insists that she will, and she knows for the same reason that he knows Jack will give her the space to do so. He believes in good people. Dr. K offers Jack his offices to take a nap, and he'll watch the kids. Jack puts up a little bit of a fight, but ultimately relents, because, quite frankly, he can use the rest. We cut back to Rebecca in the past timeline, looking for William. He talks to a bus driver, because she saw him getting on a bus. Decides she sounds nuts, and is about to leave. When the bus driver asks, "You mean Shakespeare?" It's his affectionate nickname for William. And that kind of reminds me of an old boss I had back when I was working at IGA. Mr. Quinn, who used to call me Ernest Hemingway. The driver tells her to get on, and he'll take her to him, or at least to where he lives. Meanwhile, Toby is taking Kate to an old folks home where she is supposed to sing. Kate is reluctant, but eventually gives in and starts to do so. She's singing Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper and starts off nervously, shakily, but gradually grows more confident. Kate's singing plays over the past Rebecca's search for William and the older William's doctor's appointment, which does not go well. There is nothing that can be done for him. The scene is beautifully done. Toby watches with a mixture of pride and awe while watching Kate sing. When she finishes, she gets a standing ovation, which leads to Toby and Kate making out in what I guess is a closet of some kind. I'm not even sure where they are. Are they still at the old folks home? I guess it really doesn't matter, but it's interesting. She is interrupted by a call from Kevin that she clearly has to answer. At least she thinks so. Toby is very annoyed. Kevin is having drama with an ex-girlfriend or something. He's in hiding while she's throwing and breaking things. She tells him she'll be right over. She hangs up and tells Toby that she needs to go. And he increasingly gets agitated and tells her that no, she really doesn't, and it's crazy that she thinks that she has to. He tells her that he really likes her, but doesn't want to play second fiddle to her brother. Kate tells him that he has to. Everybody does. And I kind of want to admit that I kind of wanted to slap Kate here. Much like I do generally with Kevin. Do you not see the problem here, Kate? Do you not hear yourself? Apparently she doesn't. She leaves a very angry Toby. Big romantic, grand gesture, and he still gets stitched for her brother. I can't say I blame him. Younger Rebecca finds William. The younger William is played by a different actor, Jeremel Nakia. He still doesn't have many credits to his name. Currently, he's made 11 appearances as the young William, and I suspect this season, because they're dealing with Laurel, that we will see him a little bit more. Young William is not in good shape. His apartment is a mess, and there's evidence of drug use. William tells her that the baby didn't come from this. He came from love. Rebecca is here to know more about him, but also for a different reason. William asks if he can check in on Randall from time to time, though at this point his name is Kyle. Randall says no. I need to know that you're not going to come back for him. I need to know that so I can move forward. And this motivation to me explains why she's having so much trouble bonding with Randall. She's secretly afraid to fall in love with Randall and then have William re-enter the picture to snatch him away again. The baby might sense this reluctance, and thus why they are both having problems bonding. William understands, but he seems regretful. Rebecca tells him about her issue with the baby, and William suggests that he should have his own name. Rebecca asks about the poet he used to read to the love of his life, Laurel. He hands her a book with Dudley Randall as the author. That's how Randall got his name, the author of the book of poems that William used to read to his mother. It'd be a shame if Randall never learned that truth. So how about this deal, this decision? Does Rebecca make the right call? I don't know. Was she right not to let William check in on Randall? I don't know. I don't have the ability to make a moral decision here. I don't have the ability to judge this situation. There are no right answers here, just the least wrong ones. Is that what ended up happening here? I also don't know. It's just a tragic and difficult situation all the way around. Cut to a Randall and Beth scene in the aftermath of finding out William doesn't have very long. He wonders if he made the right decision bringing him there, so that the girls can fall in love with a dying man. Beth gently calls him out, if that's really his true concern, that they will fall in love with him. When at the heart of the matter is Randall falling in love with him. I've said it before, though not recently, but this is another example of just why Beth is perfect for Randall, why their relationship is as close to ideal as it gets. No relationship is perfect, but I kind of feel like this comes pretty close. Beth tells him that William has been there for a while. He hasn't gotten to know him any more than when he first walked through the door. It's time to get to know the man while he still can. Cut back to Kevin and Kate. After Kate has dispatched with Kevin's situation, she tells him that Toby turned out to be crazy McCrazy. My words, not hers. Kevin seems surprised by this, and Kate tells him more. To Kevin's ear, she is telling an amazing story about how Toby made her feel like she was flying high. Kevin asks a natural question. So what happened? Answer: Kevin called. Kevin seems flabbergasted that she would even answer his call at that time. It's at this moment that, much to his credit, Kevin sees the problem that Kate doesn't. He decides she's fired. It's time for them to fly solo, for them to live their lives apart. Kate admits she doesn't know who she is if she isn't Kevin's sister. Kevin does. He tells her, that when she figures it out, she is going to love her. This is the best Kevin scene in my mind up until this point of the series. Another fantastic scene in an episode full of them. Now listen, I personally give Kevin a lot of crap. Especially in the early series. There are a lot of fans who still do not like this character. They think he's selfish, self-involved, narcissistic. And my argument with you is not that those things don't exist, because they sure do. My argument is that there is more to Kevin than that. And this episode demonstrates a little bit of what I came to know about the character. He sees a problem that Kate doesn't, and he does something about it. He fixes it. He shows growth here. And throughout the series, my argument is also that he is probably the one of the big three that has grown the most. In response, Kate goes to Toby's house, or actually, she calls him to hers, and in the middle of making up, Kevin calls while they're engaging in activities. Kate does not pick up the phone. Kevin tells her voicemail that hopefully this means they're having sex in an amusingly exaggerated fashion. He tells her that he has decided that he is moving to New York now and doesn't want a drawn-out goodbye. No mushiness. She knows how he feels about her. In the past timeline, Rebecca returns home to Jack, not having a clue where she's been for the last 4 hours. He jokingly suggests that she might have abandoned him for Mexico, which plays off an earlier joke from an earlier scene. She assures him she would never go without him. It's interesting to note to me that he doesn't ask where she's been. She finally admits her grief, that she can't stop thinking about the baby they lost. Jack tells her he feels the same. Rebecca tells Jack that Kyle, as he is so named, needs his own name. When he asks if she has any ideas, she takes out the book that William gave her. He smiles, indicating he's going to go along with her. And again, it's interesting to me that she doesn't ask where the book came from. Kyle is now officially Randall. We get one final scene with William and Randall. Randall tells him he hasn't given up on finding someone that can help him. He wants to tell the girls who he is and suggests doing so in the morning. He tells them that they'll have questions. William says that he will answer any questions that they have. Randall admits, while closing the door, that he wants to know more as well. He asks William, how did he meet his mother? And William pats his bed, indicating that Randall should sit. He smiles, all too happy to tell the story. Randall sits on the bed and listens as William begins to tell his story. His face is full of emotion. Finally, after all this time, Randall is going to know the things he has always wanted to, the questions he has asked all his life. The final scene of the episode is Rebecca holding baby Randall and them finally bonding. In case I haven't made this pretty obvious, this is an absolutely beautiful episode of television, full of many great scenes. Of the 3 episodes I have done in looking back at the beginning of this series, this one is the most representative of why I fell in love with this series in the first place. Next week, when I return, I will be talking about The Pool, a very popular Season 1 episode. If you like this video and wish to support my channel, there are multiple ways to do so. You can go to the Zazzle Corman Production store and buy some of the merchandise that I have created there. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can also join my Corman Productions group page on Facebook, where you will both get regular updates about videos that I am considering doing. And of course, you can like and share this video, as well as subscribing to my channel. I might need to make up for some of the losses in fans from admitting that I have never seen Hamilton. This is Dave from Corman Productions, signing off.